You ever been in a conversation with someone and something just feels off, like your gut starts whispering, hey, this ain't right? Listen to it, because I want you to hear me clearly today. If a man says any of these 5 things to you, walk away. Not tomorrow, not next week, right then and there. Let's go through them. Let's talk about something that doesn't always show up loud. It's not yelling, not name calling, not even arguing. It's subtle, slippery, a phrase so common it almost sounds harmless, but it is. You're too sensitive. Now, on the surface, that might sound like an observation, maybe even a joke, but dig a little deeper and you'll see the damage this sentence can do. When someone says, you're too sensitive, they are not addressing the situation. They're not having a conversation. They're making a judgment about you, about your character, about your wiring, about how you feel. And here's what they're really doing under the hood. They're taking the spotlight off their own behavior and they're flipping it back on you. You've just said that hurt. And instead of asking why it hurt or even just pausing to hear you out, they've said, no, you're the problem for feeling that way. That's not communication. That's deflection. Let me make this clear. Your sensitivity is not a flaw. It is not weakness. It is not something to apologize for. It's a signal. Your nervous system, your emotional history, your instincts, they're doing their job. They're telling you something's off, and whether that's big or small, it's worth paying attention to. When someone you care about hurts you, even unintentionally, the mature response is curiosity. It's openness. Hey, that wasn't my intention, but I see it affected you. Can we talk about it? That's a healthy conversation. That's what emotional safety looks like. But when someone leads with, you're too sensitive, they're telling you this, I don't want to deal with your pain. I don't want to reflect on my part in this. I just want you to drop it, and I'll use shame to make that happen. Because let's be honest, when someone says that to you, how do you feel? Do you feel safe, heard, seen? No, you feel small. You feel like your feelings just got invalidated. You might even start questioning yourself. Am I overreacting? Did I misread that? Maybe I should just let it go. And that's the trap. That's how manipulation works. It doesn't come with flashing lights. It creeps in quietly through small comments that wear down your confidence over time. One sentence here, a little sarcasm there. And before you know it, you're biting your tongue, walking on eggshells, trying not to make things a big deal. Now, let me tell you why this matters. Because the minute you start believing you're too sensitive, you start suppressing your instincts. You start disconnecting from yourself. And that's dangerous. Because your sensitivity, that emotional awareness, it's what helps you set boundaries. It's what helps you notice when something's wrong. It's what keeps you safe in relationships. If someone you're in a relationship with repeatedly makes you feel like your emotions are a burden, like they're an inconvenience, like your reaction is the problem rather than the situation itself, that is not healthy. That is not love. That is control dressed up as toughness. Let's call it what it is. Here's something else I want you to understand. Sensitivity doesn't make you fragile. It makes you aware. It means you notice tone. You catch shifts in energy. You feel tension that others might brush off. That's not weakness. That's perception. That's intelligence. And people who don't want to be accountable for their behavior often find sensitivity inconvenient, so they label it as the problem. But just because someone doesn't understand your emotional needs doesn't mean those needs are invalid. It just means they may not be capable or willing to meet them. So the next time someone tells you you're too sensitive, take a breath. Don't let it land. Don't internalize it. You don't have to argue. You don't have to defend, but you do have to notice it for what it is, a red flag. Because here's the bottom line. Communication is not just about being heard. It's about feeling safe to be heard. And if you're with someone who consistently invalidates your feelings, whether by calling you too sensitive, emotional, dramatic, or crazy, that is not someone who's trying to understand you. That's someone who's trying to silence you. Healthy relationships have room for emotion. They make space for pain. They don't always fix everything perfectly, but they never make you feel wrong for feeling. That's the difference. You deserve to be with someone who says, I may not get it right every time, but I want to understand. I want to grow with you. I want to know what hurts you so I don't keep hurting you. That is emotional maturity. That is safety. That is love. Now, I get it. Walking away isn't easy, especially when you've invested time, love, and vulnerability into a relationship. But staying in a space where you are constantly doubting your emotions, shrinking yourself to avoid criticism, or questioning your right to feel that will wear you down in ways you won't see until much later. And I don't want that for you. I want you to trust your gut. I want you to speak up even when your voice shakes. I want you to hold space for your own sensitivity, because that's not the thing holding you back. It's the thing that's going to save you. If you've heard that phrase, "you're too sensitive," more than once, and it keeps showing up in moments when you're expressing hurt or discomfort, hear me loud and clear. It's not just a phrase. It's a pattern. And patterns are not accidents. You are not broken for feeling deeply. You are not dramatic for having emotional needs. You are not too much for wanting to be treated with care and respect. You're human. And anyone who can't respect that, anyone who uses your emotional truth as a weapon against you, doesn't deserve access to your heart. So yes, if a man keeps telling you you're too sensitive, don't explain yourself. Don't try to prove your worth. Just recognize what's happening and walk away, because your peace is too valuable. And your sensitivity, that's your superpower. Let's talk about something people often misunderstand: love and fear. See, a lot of folks grow up thinking they're the same thing. They confuse intensity with care, control with commitment. But let me say something right up front. Any relationship that runs on fear, guilt, or control is not love. Period. When someone says things like, "you're lucky I put up with you," or "no one else would ever want you," that's not romantic. That's manipulation. That's someone using fear to keep you where you are, not love to help you grow. And the moment you start confusing those things, control and care, you start losing yourself. Love should never make you feel trapped. It shouldn't leave you walking on eggshells or second guessing your every word. It shouldn't come with conditions like, "if you don't act this way, I won't stay." That's not partnership. That's a performance. Now, let's be real. Guilt and fear are powerful tools. When someone uses them against you, they're playing a psychological game. They're not yelling. They're not even raising their voice. They're just planting seeds: doubt, shame, insecurity. And the more those seeds grow, the more power they have over you. You start to think, maybe I am hard to love. Maybe no one else would deal with me. Maybe I should just be grateful someone sticks around. That's not love. That's emotional control. True love, real, mature, healthy love, doesn't make you question your worth. It reminds you of it, even in disagreement, even in the hard moments. Love isn't about someone tolerating you. It's about someone choosing you without strings attached. And I know some of these manipulative phrases can sound subtle. They can sound like frustration or sarcasm or even jokes, but words matter. And when someone repeatedly makes you feel like you owe them for their presence in your life, like you have to earn your spot, they are not building a relationship with you. They are building a power dynamic. Because here's the truth. When love turns into something you have to deserve, it stops being safe. When someone dangles their affection over your head like a prize, or threatens to take it away when you make a mistake, they are not loving you. They are controlling you. Love isn't meant to make you feel less than. Love says, even when you're not perfect, I still choose you. Control says, be perfect or I'll leave. And that kind of pressure, that eats away at you. Over time, it chips at your confidence, your self-trust, your identity. You start thinking everything is your fault. Every argument becomes a referendum on whether or not you're good enough to be loved. And that's how people get stuck. Not because they don't see the problem, but because they've been made to believe they are the problem. Let's make this even clearer. If someone uses their love as leverage, it is not love. If they weaponize your fears, it is not love. If they use guilt to keep you compliant, it is not love. Sometimes the manipulation is subtle. You're lucky I even deal with you. What that actually means is you owe me for staying. That's not commitment. That's emotional blackmail. Or how about no one else will ever love you the way I do? That's not romance. That's a threat disguised as affection. It's them trying to isolate you, make you feel like they're your only option. But here's what they don't want you to realize. You do have options. You can be loved without being controlled, without being belittled, without being afraid to speak your truth. See, healthy relationships are built on mutual respect. There's room for accountability. Yes, there's room for disagreement. But there is never room for fear. There is never room for guilt being used as a leash to keep you from walking away. And I know what some people might be thinking, well, sometimes we just say things we don't mean. Sure, We all get upset. We all say things in anger, but pay attention to the pattern. One slip up can be forgiven, a pattern of fear and guilt. That's not a mistake. That's a method. If someone consistently makes you feel unsafe emotionally, if they make you feel indebted just for being loved, listen to that. Don't minimize it. Don't brush it off, because emotional manipulation doesn't start with shouting. It starts with little phrases. It starts with erosion. And if you've been in that place for a while, you might have trouble seeing it clearly. That's normal. When you're inside the storm, it's hard to realize how long you've been soaking wet. But the moment you start feeling like your needs are a burden, the moment you start being afraid to express your hurt, the moment you start thinking you need to be grateful someone stays with you despite treating you poorly, that's the moment you need to step back. Because you deserve more than that. You deserve to be in a relationship where love isn't used as a weapon, where your value isn't tied to your obedience, where you're not walking a tightrope just to keep the peace. You deserve a love that doesn't ask you to trade your self-worth for affection. And if someone isn't willing to meet you there, if they're more interested in control than connection, then the most loving thing you can do is walk away. That's not quitting. That's protecting. That's honoring yourself. That's choosing peace over punishment, because you were not made to live in fear. You were not created to be controlled. You were made to love and be loved freely, honestly, without condition. So if someone is using fear, guilt, or control to keep you close, let that be the alarm bell. Let that be the moment you say, no more. You don't owe anyone your silence. You don't owe them your shrinking. You don't owe them your peace. Walk away, not because you're weak. Walk away because you're finally strong enough to stop calling fear love. And that kind of strength, that's where your healing begins. Let's talk about walking away. And let's get one thing straight from the start. Walking away doesn't mean you're giving up. It doesn't mean you're weak, bitter, or dramatic. Walking away means you finally recognized your value and you're no longer willing to negotiate your peace. Too often, we think staying is strength. That if we just hold on a little longer, love harder, compromise more, they'll change. That the breakthrough is coming. If we can just endure the breakdown a little longer. But let me ask you, how many times have you told yourself that, and how many times has anything really changed? When you're in a relationship where your needs are ignored, where your voice is constantly drowned out, where love feels more like survival than safety, it chips away at you slowly, quietly. You don't even notice it at first, but over time, the damage becomes part of your normal. You start saying things like, it's not that bad, or maybe I'm just asking for too much. That's not love talking. That's exhaustion. That's burnout from trying to earn something that should have been given freely. You see, real love doesn't make you fight just to be seen. It doesn't make you beg for the bare minimum. It doesn't have you questioning your own reality every time you try to express your needs. If someone makes you feel like your standards are the problem, like your boundaries are a burden, then what they're offering isn't love, it's control. And control, no matter how it's packaged, will always make you feel like you're not enough. Now, here's where walking away comes in. Walking away is hard, not because it's wrong, but because you've been made to believe you need to stay. Maybe it's time invested. Maybe it's shared history. Maybe it's fear of starting over. But none of that is a good enough reason to stay somewhere that costs you your peace. Peace is priceless. We don't talk about that enough. We're so focused on saving relationships that we forget to save ourselves. We confuse endurance with loyalty. But enduring pain in silence is not noble. It's self-abandonment. And you don't need to abandon yourself just to keep someone else comfortable. Walking away is a decision that says, I deserve better than this. It says I choose to stop shrinking just to keep the peace. It says I love myself enough to leave what hurts, even if it once made me happy. And I know that's not easy. It takes courage to walk away. It takes strength to look at someone you once loved and say, this is not healthy for me, especially when they're telling you that you'll never find better, that you'll regret it, that no one else will love you like they do. Let me tell you something real clear. You will do better, not because someone else is waiting for you on the other side, but because peace is healing, is a version of you that doesn't flinch every time your phone buzzes. That's waiting for you. A version of you that doesn't feel like love is something to survive. That's waiting for you. You don't have to have it all figured out to walk away. You just need to know that staying is costing you too much. Your joy, your clarity, your self-worth. And the longer you stay where you're not seen, the longer it takes to get back to who you really are. Walking away is not about them. It's about you. It's about reclaiming your voice. It's about saying, I deserve to be in a space where I don't have to explain why I deserve kindness. It's about realizing that love without respect is just manipulation wearing perfume. You are not hard to love. You are not too much. You are not asking for the impossible. You're asking for what you deserve. Mutual respect, honest communication, emotional safety, and peace. And if someone makes you feel like those things are unreasonable, that's your sign. One of the most powerful things you can do is leave quietly, without the need to prove your worth, without waiting for an apology you may never get, because the apology isn't what heals you. Your decision to choose yourself, that's where the healing begins. You don't need closure to walk away. You don't need a dramatic ending or the perfect send-off. Sometimes you just need to say, this isn't where I grow, and then go. There is a life waiting for you on the other side of this, a life where you feel safe in your skin, where your sensitivity is seen as strength, not weakness, where your voice is heard, not dismissed, where your love is met with love, not manipulation, not guilt, not fear. You deserve to be in a relationship where you don't feel like you're constantly proving your worth. You deserve to be loved without conditions. And if you're not getting that where you are, walking away isn't the end, it's the beginning. Because here's the truth, sometimes the most powerful act of love you can show someone else is by choosing to stop letting them hurt you. And sometimes the most powerful act of love you can show yourself is finally walking away. So no, walking away isn't failure, it's freedom. It's the moment you stop surviving and start living.